Okay, hi everybody. I'm Lola Bloom. I'm the Director of Food and Wellness at DC Bilingual. And today what I thought I would do is show you some ways that I have been using up all the fruit that comes home with the meals to go. So I don't know about you, but I already have a lot of fruit in the house. And so when I get a big bag of fruit from Chris and the ladies in the kitchen, some of it definitely we eat, but some of it tends to sit around for a while, and so I'm trying to figure out what to do with all of it. So I'm going to show you a couple things I've done so far. First things first. Today what I did, you'll notice that there's often plums in your fruit bag and oranges, and I'm not a huge orange eating person. So what I did was I cut up plums. I had 4 plums. I cut them up, diced them, didn't peel them. I'm lazy. I don't peel my fruit. I threw them in a pot. I took 1 orange, squeezed the juice out of it. No, I took 2 oranges. I took 2 oranges, squeezed the juice, put it in that pot with the chopped up plums. Of course, take out the pits. And then I added half a cup of sugar. I brought it all up to a boil, then lowered it to a simmer till it was like medium heat. And at that point, I let it simmer for about 20-30 minutes until it was all the way reduced and real sticky. And now I have a yummy plum orange jam, which I'm going to use this week when I'm making sandwiches or breakfast for Nico. Okay, another thing I'm going to be doing with my fruit in the bags is something I'm going to show you today. It's going to be a mom's apple cake, which is a recipe from Smitten Kitchen, and I'll link in the comments below. So to make this cake, we're gonna have to use a lot of apples. I had 6 apples that I chopped up. They're right here. You can see they're covered in 5 tablespoons of sugar and cinnamon tossed, sitting at the side. And now what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna mix some oil and juice, and let me read the instructions here. Oil, juice, and some sugar, vanilla, and eggs in my mixer. So I'll be right back. Okay, I'm back. I had to do a little bit of finagling because it's really hard to do a recipe. So another thing I just wanted to say was that the juice that I used was also an orange from my bag of fruit. So it calls for some orange juice. I'm gonna add, it's 1 cup of oil, 1/4 cup of orange juice, 4 eggs, and wash my hand real quick. Okay, and some vanilla. So I'm going to add 2.5 teaspoons of vanilla. It's a lot of vanilla. It's going to taste really good. I love apple cakes. Apple cakes always make me think of Rosh Hashanah, this time of year. It's really good to eat for breakfast or dessert, depending on how you serve it. And it's super easy. It's a lot like any other quick bread you would make. This doesn't have a lot of stuff that are normally in a cake, like buttermilk or, crazy weird stuff. So this is all beat up pretty well. I'm going to show you real quick. Looks like this orange. Oop, and you don't need a fancy mixer. It's kind of hard to see. Not the best lighting. That's okay. So we're gonna mix that up, and then we're gonna add a little bit of the dry mixture, which is 2 3/4 cup of flour, a teaspoon of salt, and a whole tablespoon of baking powder. Remember, baking powder is usually in the can, baking soda is in the box. So I'm gonna add this, and then I'll be right back. Okay, so when you were just watching that, you probably were like, Lola, that's a very low sugar cake. You don't even add any sugar to it. And that's because I made a mistake. You're supposed to add sugar. So I just added the sugar, and I'm adding some of those dry ingredients. I'm not gonna beat it too much, just until it's combined. It's gonna get a little bit more stirring once I add the apple chunks. I'm gonna show you that in 1 more minute. Okay, so I stirred in all that stuff. You can see a little bit of white flour dust in there. I'm just gonna gently fold that in when you're making cakes and stuff like that, like baked desserts that you want to be moist and crumbly, not tough. You don't want to be really stirring the flour too much. I'm going to add about half of this into a bundt pan, not a bundt can. And a bundt pan is also known as a tube pan. Looks like this. Okay, I have not made this in another pan, so I can't tell you if it would work, but it probably was. I mean, it's a cake. And then you're going to dump half of the apples on top of half of that batter. Yum. Smells so good. This is a type of cake, and there's Matt. That's going to make the house smell so good. All right, I'm going to add the other half of the batter on top of those apples. Like this. Try and get it all even. And it's okay if some of the apples are poking out, because as this bakes, the apples are going to settle, they're going to move around. You know, I think that most of these apples were Gala apples. Gala apples do tend to bake a little bit mushier than something like a Macintosh or Granny Smith. So it might even get a little bit moist and saucy. That's not a problem for me. If you like more sour, more firm apples in your baked goods, then definitely don't use the ones from school. We usually don't buy green apples like that for kids because they just don't really eat them that much. So that's just lunch lady trick. Okay, I'm pouring the rest. Wow, it seems like a lot of apples. It's making me think like, wow, this is gonna be quite the moist cake. But I just know with all that baking powder that I put into the mix, it's gonna fluff up real good once I put it in the oven. And I've had the oven preheated at 350, so I'm gonna throw this in for 1.5 hours. Wow, that's a long time, but it's like non-chemical Glade. It's just gonna make my house smell super good. So I'll show it to you when I'm done. So, 2 hours later.
Seriously.
This was in the oven. It said it was supposed to be in there for 1.5 hours, but I really do think that maybe it was the number of apples I used, although I used the right amount, but nevertheless, it took a while until the knife would come out clean. So, and then I let it cool quite a bit, but it's still a little warm because I was anxious to unmold it, but it looks really good. Now I'm gonna cut a slice. Yum, yum, yum. Let's see how it turns out. Hope it's good. Oh yeah, look at that. You can see how the apples got all inside. All right, I think we're gonna like this recipe. I'll have it in the comments and let me know what you make with all that extra fruit from your DCB bags.
Like and subscribe.